So the war is still going on. And again, I can only look into this as much as I can, not being an expert on the subject. But we did a series, or at least a little segment, where we went over the Azov battalion and the neo-Nazis among them and the sort of acceptance of that because there's a war, therefore we need people. And that was the argument made by the Ukrainian government. And I felt like we definitely should go over especially the Russian side as well, because there are also some very interesting memes. And there are also some other memes on the Ukrainian side, which I thought would be funny to go over. So
I did get people complaining, well, you're not covering the Russian Nazis. I was like, okay, well, we'll do that too.
Well, I can do that as well.
Yes.
There are a few. But we'll start off with people who aren't Nazis, but are something else rather funny. So this is next up putting up here. Propaganda TV channeled Zvezda showed the mercenaries that Putin wants to send to Ukraine, and it's a bunch of guys from Syria with Bashar al-Assad flags, Syrian posters. You can see the sign there as well, all screaming about Allah, Bashar, and it's amazing. But getting payback, I guess, for
Well, Syria being the sort of last Russian ally in the Middle East, right?
definitely
That the Americans haven't knocked off yet.
someone who's definitely loyal to Moscow would
Yeah.
be the Syrians. So apparently they have sent a whole bunch of guys. You might be wondering how many guys. If we go to the next link here, we can see a report on this, saying that Putin backed plans to allow volunteers, including from abroad, to fight in Ukraine earlier Friday, and Defense Minister Sergei Shushkin said more than 16,000 mostly Middle Eastern volunteers had appealed to join the military action.
That is an enormous number.
Funny thing about this is that Kiev had already said they'd receive volunteers. Can you guess the number they said they received?
No idea.
16,000?
Really?
And then Putin just says, by the way, we've got 16,000.
It's really strange.
Part of me is just thinking that they just said the number the Ukrainians had. Just to look bigger.
But that's not bigger, but why?
Oh, I think they ended up saying, oh, maybe 23,000. It's just like, okay, this seems a concocted number, but whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the case.
I mean, 16,000 is an absolutely enormous number, so I doubt it.
It's not a small number of guys, but I imagine the Syrians will be happy to send over volunteer forces.
Sure.
As Hoi 4 players.
I'm sure
know
they
them.
will, yeah.
If we go to the next one, of course, there are the Chechens as well. The Chechens who have accepted the Federation's rule over Chechnya. There are many who have not, and we'll get to those later.
Yep.
But there's them, Kadyrov's men. If we go to the next one, we'll start getting into the Nazis. I mean, take a guess. That's the ideological position of these guys. So this is Russian national unity here. You've got a flag. They certainly do. And their involvement is strange. It's hard to tell. Again, not an expert on the subject, but they seem to be around. In 2014, Russian National Unity members joined pro-Russia forces in Ukraine during the war in Donbass, and then presumably are still around and or volunteering for operations. So there you are. There's some Russian Nazis if you didn't find any. But there are more. If we go to the next one, we can see the Sparta Battalion. Guess where these guys stand as well. And in case you're not knowing, we can go to the next one, in which we have a report on this. Apparently they are neo-Nazis. As you see, a Russian neo-Nazi warlord who was leading them apparently has been killed in the fighting, taking part in the invasion.
Okay.
So more Nazis there. And then it gets weird.
It's Nazi on Nazi violence, yeah.
If we go to the next one, we can see the African Central Republic. Their army was pledging allegiance to Putin, saying we support Russia and will come and fight if needs be.
Isn't this because the Russians are sort of securing their diamond mines or something?
It's more complex.
Right.
So go to the next group. This will start to explain it. The Wagner group. I've only been able to read into this as much as I can from the sources I can find, but this is an insane story and quite an interesting one.
Go on.
So you might wonder how they get that link to the Central African Republic. Well, so the Wagner Group is a military company, or PMC, but not really, because those aren't legal in Russia.
Right.
So it's run by the state, but not. It's obviously a joke in that sense. The serving mercenary, or at least a mercenary who used to work for them, said many veterans of the secretive Wagner organization were contracted on a private telegram group a few weeks before the start of the war. They were invited to, quote, a picnic in Ukraine, with references to tasting salo, a pork fat traditionally eaten in Ukraine. The messages appeal to, quote, those with criminal records, debts, banned from mercenary groups, or without...
Imagine getting banned from a mercenary group.
How bad do you have to be that you're banned from working with other mercenaries, but these guys will take you on? Or without an external passport to apply. The message also included that, quote, those from the Russian-occupied areas of Luhansk and Donetsk republics and Crimea are cordially invited.
Right.
You are hereby invited to the war.
Didn't Zelensky do something similar? Just like empty the jails, conscript the prisoners.
Yeah, but you could say that that is you're conscripting prisoners, and that's a state conscripting them, right?
Sure.
This is where it gets weird, because they're
Right, okay.
a mercenary company conscripting whomever and wherever,
Yeah.
but they also can't be a mercenary company because that's illegal to do in Russia.
Right, okay.
So obviously, it's under the carpet. Restrictions on the place of birth, except for Georgia, were also removed. So there are also Ukrainians presumably fighting on their side, but Georgians, big no, not allowed. So if we go to the next link, there's an Economist article going through them. What is the Wagner Group, Russia's mercenary organization? And the details in here are immense. According to a report in the Times on February 28th, more than 400 mercenaries belonging to Russia's Wagner Group have been sent to Kiev to assassinate Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukraine's president. American officials say they have seen some indication of Wagner's involvement in the war. Those reports have not been confirmed, but Wagner's presence would not be a surprise. So this is in the initial outbreak. They've already been there before.
Yeah, yeah.
Then they've also sent a bunch of guys on their own to go and assassinate the president, apparently.
Are we assuming that these guys have many ethnically Russian but Ukrainian citizens?
It's hard to tell. Secretive organization. Mostly seems to be Russian, but there was evidence that they've had Ukrainians with them in the past.
But when we say Ukrainians, we mean Russian-speaking.
Oh, sorry.
Ukrainians,
I understand what you mean now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ukrainian citizens who are ethnic Russians.
Yes.
Probably a lot,
Yeah, right.
or at least those who have seen combat. For years, Ukraine has accused the private military organization, which appears to have close ties to the Kremlin, of fighting in Luhansk and Donetsk, the disputed parts of eastern Ukraine. The mercenaries, who have also repeatedly fought in both northern and sub-Saharan Africa, have been accused of torture, rape, and extrajudicial killings.
Not a surprise.
But that's where we get the fact of this seems to be like one of the worst mercenary groups.
Well, yeah, secret Nazi mercenary group accused of war crimes and terrible things. Yeah, well, big surprise.
Yeah, but rape and murder, I mean,
I'd expect that.
but I can see how you have maybe mercenaries that have got higher standards than rape and murder and torture. And then, these guys will take you.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It was founded by Dmitry Utkin, a former Russian soldier adorned with Nazi tattoos. Of course it was. It was reportedly named after Adolf Hitler's favorite composer, Wagner. So, yeah, this is where the Nazi stuff comes in.
Yeah.
In December 2016, Mr. Utkin was photographed alongside Vladimir Putin, Russia's president. Wagner is thought to be funded by Yevgeny Prigozhin, a businessman who is also alleged to run the internet research agency's Russia's troll farm.
Right.
You remember from Active Measures?
Yeah, I do.
Same guy. They were active in Syria and Libya, and more recently have been seen in the Central African Republic and Mali.
So both sides have got like secret Nazi, well, not even secret in the Ukrainian side, but like Nazi groups just operating during this war.
Yes.
Right, okay.
So that's the weird thing, because the Ukrainians have got state Nazis. Like, you've got Azov who work in the National Guard,
Yeah.
right? This isn't, of course, to say Ukraine's a Nazi government.
No.
blah, blah, blah.
But
it's just
they have a
exist.
Nazi regiment.
Yes. But
So to the Russians, it's just an unofficial Nazi regiment.
on the Russian side, it seems to be that the military are funding this group, who they totally don't work with because that would be illegal, but sure as heck do. And then they are Nazis, and also they work all over the world, wherever Russia can't be officially seen to be, and are now taking part in the invasion for the Russians.
I'll tell you, just from the perspective of the ideology of Nazism, surely it's quite difficult to be a Russian Nazi.
I
Even
mean,
Aryan purity? What are you talking about?
but also you can kind of understand the Ukrainians, or at least some Ukrainians, becoming Nazis because of the
Sure.
Soviet Union and all the
Yeah,
oppression and German invasion, all that.
Yeah.
Being a Russian,
Yeah. I mean, the argument gets a lot thinner, doesn't it?
it really does. So, last quote here. Russia is engaging in a proxy war with plausible deniability, Miss McLeod says. Using mercenaries instead of its own troops allows Russia to downplay its casualties. It also removes a layer of accountability. Unlike soldiers, mercenaries are very hard to identify. It is, quote, almost impossible to hold them to account.
Well,
This
yes.
is not just in Ukraine, but elsewhere.
Yeah.
Well, they're doing whatever. There's also a
Why
number
do you think the US use PMCs? Well, obviously.
but there's usually a much smoother and some kind of process of let's say justice there. So I mean, most PMCs were engaging in like, oh, we'll take supplies from here to here, and there'll be messed up things. And don't get me wrong, but just like so shadowy neo-Nazis that don't even work with the government.
Oh yeah,
officially.
I would say these are probably the worst of all sides here.
It's
Yeah.
definitely on a different level. There is also a number of journalists who keep investigating them jumping off their balconies to their deaths.
can only speculate as to why that might be.
So yeah, anyone who writes about Wagner all of a sudden gets very suicidal, jumps off a balcony to their death, and everyone believes that. If we go to the next image, we can see the leader himself, as you can see there, with his Nazi tattoos.
Jesus Christ.
And pictured there with Vladimir Putin. Apparently this was a meeting in which he was being given a medal for courage. Not endorsed by this state. Obviously a joke.
He looks just exactly as I would expect, to be honest.
Yeah. If we go to the next one, there's also a very funny aspect to this. There's a crossover with the Serbians. So, Republika Srpska's coming back, boys. So this is a Serb who liberated ancient Palmyra. Davor Slavic, a 36-year-old Serbian from Dobra, a former member of Special Operations Unit, JSO. People may remember them as Arkan's Tigers. People are familiar with this. If we go to the next one, just an image of these guys.
Literally holding a tiger.
Yeah, for people listening.
Oh.
Arkan at the front there, holding up a baby tiger by its neck. And all the rest of them behind them with
Tanks.
balaclavas, like the good guys. Arkan was eventually meant to be tried for war crimes and then died.
Look a lot like the IRA.
Yes. I just... the guys who used to work in there apparently were upon Wagner.
Yeah.
If we get to the next one, we can also see Wagner's 10 commandments, which are very funny. If you can scroll down on this, we can read some of them. So there's a complete list of commandments. Number 1, protect the interests of Russia always and everywhere. Number 2, the honor of the Russian soldier is above all. Number 3, fight not for money, but out of principle. There is only one principle: victory. Just win. Just get good, bro. I don't know if you want to go through the rest of these or not, because they get quite Islamic. Do not surrender to the enemies alive, but if you are captured, die. But take as many enemies as possible with you. Honor your fallen comrades. Do not dishonor their blessed memory. Sooner or later, you will meet with them. We are destined for death in battle, and not a weak old man in a bed. Be humble, and do not boast of your craft. Keep this a secret. Never loot. In war and on business trips, prohibition. And then keep your token. So...
does sound like the sort of thing the companions of Muhammad would have said.
Don't drink.
Yeah.
Take everyone down fighting. Never surrender to the unbelievers.
Yeah.
Kill them all. Certainly see that there. If we go to the next link, we can see Wagner's Wikipedia page. I'm using this for the list of conflicts they've been involved with. So they say they're allies of the Russian Armed Forces, Russian Separatist Forces, Syrians, the Army of the Guardians for the Islamic Revolution.
Is that Iran?
Yes.
Right.
So I'm sure they'll be sending a brigade soon.
Yep.
The Central African Armed Forces. That's why they're pledging their allegiance. Libyan National Guard, Mozambique Defense Armed Forces, and the Malian Armed Forces.
I really feel like I'm looking at politics from like 300 years ago.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
But also the coalition's weird.
Yeah.
Like, they've got the Iranians, the Iranians, the Africans, Mali, weird Syrians turning up. This is Putin's forces. That's his coalition.
Chechen, Sadaka, like what's going on?
Some guys screaming "Hail Hitler" in the background. Okay.
Just what is happening here?
That's the Russian front line.
Okay.
And if we go to the Ukrainian front lines, of course, we've mentioned some of this in the past, but I want to go over it again because it gets weirder.
What is this?
This is an article called The Future of Chechens and ISIS.
Right.
So
a bunch of Chechens joined ISIS. ISIS failed. They had to go back. And they were like, yeah, so...
where do we go now?
Yeah, what now?
So these are Chechens who do not accept subjugation by the Federation.
The Russians, Shemaima Begum.
Yeah, they want an independent Chechnya.
Yeah.
A lot of them were inspired by Islamism as well.
Yeah.
They want an Islamic
Shock
state.
and surprise.
So they went and joined ISIS, of course. Funny thing, there were Chechens in Syria sent by the Russians who ended up fighting them. So again, in Syria, you had Chechens versus Chechens. Running around being like, look at these guys. So there's that. But they also have now run out of things to do. So if we go to the next one, of course, the Chechens from there are now turning up in Ukraine. Many of them who didn't fight in Syria, but also many of them who did. Some of them fought ISIS as well. So there's them.
Yeah.
And this is where another allegation is coming in. It's an allegation. So let's go to the next line. Because this is a Turkish outlet that has made this allegation. That hundreds of Al-Qaeda militants arrive in Ukraine from Syria.
I love that this is what's happening in Ukraine with Russia is a totally different paradigm, and nobody's particularly aligned with it, and so now they have to choose a new side. So, okay, well, who you fight? Well, I guess I'm for Ukraine, so I don't like the Russians. Okay, so are the American Special Forces, who were shooting you and your buddies like 2 years ago. Now what?
Yeah, but also, like, we're with Ukraine, and we've got Azov and Al-Qaeda behind us going, that's right, brother. So... They're saying here the United States has trained 450 Al-Qaeda militants who have now arrived. They say
it's not the first time we've been behind the Taliban and whatnot, is it?
That's the point. So the militants are from Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, an armed group, a rebrand of Jabhat al-Nusra, the Syrian branch of Al-Qaeda. They arrived in Ukraine on the 8th of March, ready to fight against the Russian army, according to Sputnik.
I don't know why I'm picturing the Spider-Man meme where everyone's just pointing, you.
You're the bad guys. Wait, no. it's funny. But it's an allegation from the Russians, and a lot of people have brushed it off because it's an allegation from the Russians. But we do know the Chechens who were fighting with ISIS are there, so I wouldn't be surprised on that basis.
No, I wouldn't be surprised by any of this at this point.
But also Jabhat al-Nusra, like, we have evidence of us helping them in the past. So if we go to the next link, you can see the operation in which the CIA under Obama directly funded and trained them. And that was one of the main criticisms of this plan here. Go and read in your own time. Still classified. If we go to the next one, they also have their greatest ally, Israel.
Right.
On their side. So during the Civil War, the Israelis provided medical support in the means that if al-Nusra were injured, they could cross over the border to Israel and the Israelis would treat them and then send them back over to fight.
Man, if Israelis end up fighting alongside Al-Qaeda and Nazis in the cause of Ukraine, that is just peak clown world.
That is what they've already done with the Nazis. The Al-Qaeda one is about to be proven, in my view. So there's that. If you go to the next link, there are, of course, a lot of Westerners who are turning up. So this one is the Canadians who have turned up, volunteering. If you go to the next one, there are 60 British who have turned up as well. There's one guy here who is a son of an MP.
They just turn up and say, we're fighting for liberal democracy. What are you guys fighting for? Not that.
Allah. the son
the
of
Fuhrer? I mean,
the son of the MP, he says that he was just in Iraq serving, fighting ISIS, and then went home, said goodbye to his wife and children, has then gone to Ukraine. And I really, really want this story to come out that I want to see him meeting Al-Qaeda in Ukraine and being like, no more brother wars. I don't know. But we'll see there. As you see, they say there are 20 to 16,000 volunteers. So there's that. If you go to the next one, there are also 70 Japanese that have turned up, screaming Banzai, wearing traditional uniform. I don't know.
We're here for our, German allies? The old alliance? What is this?
Well, they could be fighting on either side, really, if they wanted to do that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Japan and Russia fight wars, so you know.
That's true. Not too keen on the Ruskies. If we go to the next one, there is, of course, also the Nazis, as we have said before. On the Ukrainian side, we've been over this, so I won't dwell on it. However, if we go to the next one, there is an image I did see, which is, again, of the children. Like, so this is someone's son, apparently.
Yeah.
I still can't get over that. You see on the side, they're writing in, like, runic script, as in, like, Nordic, which...
A Slavic pagan script.
Oh, is it? Right.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Strange. But whatever. Nazis or Nazis. If we go to the next one, we can also see that we have the strong independent Nazi moment again. So this was...
yeah.
Lady has Ezra writes here.
Yeah.
So Catherine McKenna was smearing Canadian truckers as Nazis. They weren't, of course. However, she is now promoting International Women's Day.
With an actual Nazi. Yeah.
And if you can scroll down, John, and get those up, it's International Women's Day.
Is there a little white patch on the girl on the right-hand side?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a black sun.
That's a black sun, neo-Nazi symbol, again. So this also happened to NATO previously. If we go to the next one, just to mention.
Sorry, they're literally going to be tweeting out ISIS members, giving the finger in a minute. Like, NATO stands with our brave troops in Ukraine. That's an ISIS member.
Hello,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, you've already got the Chechens. Al-Qaeda are only just joining. That's the claim. So either way, you have got Islamists around. And if we go to the next one, we of course have the pride flag troops. This one in the Redditors.
The Redditors are coming over to fight for trans rights.
Yeah, let's click on the first one here. So this is an individual saying that he's arrived in Lviv from Portland. Of course, it's from Portland. You can guess how this went. If we go to the next one, people just dug into his history and checked out what else he'd been up to. So the next image there, John, is him saying, "Today I had a vasectomy because of climate change."
And now I'm fighting alongside jihadis and Nazis because Putin's bad. Okay, yeah.
I don't want to be more children, so I had a vasectomy. I want to save the world. Hashtag climate change. Free Ukraine. Let's go to the next one, because the Redditors have also become mega cringe in everyone's eyes, if for another other reason than this one. Apparently some guy posted his location on his private Facebook page to show everyone he was safe, who knew him. And then some Redditor took the image and put it on Reddit for the upvotes, and then got the place he was hiding, which apparently was some school, bombed, killing everyone.
Brilliant.
Reddit moment.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Great.
Why are you getting involved in this, you idiots?
Not to mention the other stories which you have sent me. I didn't have time to add.
There have been a lot of these Reddit stories where, Like, oh, we're being shelled in Lviv. And it's like, well, what did you think was going to happen? Well,
Yeah.
we thought our air superiority would save us. You don't have that here.
America's not there.
No, you get to feel what the rough side of the war is like.
Yeah, you're the Taliban this time round.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got to be the guerrillas.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
if we go to the next one, I also decided to just make some flags out of the two sides, just because this is getting wacko. It certainly is. We can click on the flag, so we'll go with the first one. So this is the Kiev alliance of memes.
ISIS.
If there's any more groups that turn up, let me know, and I'll have them for the joke, if nothing else. So you can see NATO, the Islamist Chechens,
Yeah, yeah.
as of. If we go to the right side, we can see Moscow's alliance, or at least Moscow's coalition on this matter, which is just a coalition of weird. This central piece there being Wagner as well. But anyway, I think we've done our due diligence at least, which is showing that, well, there are a bunch of wackos on both sides, and this is turning into something strange.
Yeah, I mean, just to be clear, we haven't supported either side in this, and I don't think we're going to start now. Like, God.
I do think the longer it goes on, the more meme-worthy it's going to get.
Well, what else can you do with it?
I don't know. Maybe the MLP division will turn up or something.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing's missing is armed furries.
Well, if you're in America.
If you're on Reddit.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as this premium podcast me and Carl did together on Eric Zamore and how he is perhaps the most based man alive. If you want to find out what else I'm putting out, you can follow me at Getter at Callum on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.